No.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was having challenge with my audio here.
Okay.
It's Aaron Chinoperekwei. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm into the network marketing profession, and I'm partnering with several companies. Another company which is involved in health stuff. Another one is in cryptocurrencies. So I'm currently working on establishing my own organization that is going to focus more on helping people in the network marketing profession to grow their businesses. I'm based in South Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I welcome you everyone to today's session, our OLDN conversations. We are a network of scholars and practitioners who have the desire to see real transformation and real change happening across different sectors. So the objective of our conversations is to ignite insight that helps people in different fields. I'm getting some background. Okay. We ignite conversations that are fundamental to transformation, and transformation at individual, at family, at organizational, and at societal levels. So we are not part of the ordinary networks which engage in conversations that are not transformational, but we try by all means to set ourselves apart and develop and grow as a network. So we have the membership conversations where we bring people together to share ideas and ignite conversations, ignite insights in different fields. So today's session is being led by Dr. Chijioke. Dr. Chijioke is currently based in the UK and is going to take us through the strategies of dealing with corporate insolvency post-COVID-19. We agree that COVID-19 has been a shock, it has been a trauma, and it forced organizations into directions that they never thought they would take. And as things are kind of getting back to normal in certain places, we need to implement certain strategies that are fundamental to resuscitate industries in different countries. And I'll take this opportunity as well to just introduce our next week event, which is our virtual conference, focusing on embracing OD theory and practice as operational and strategic imperatives for organizational effectiveness. What we do as the Center for Organization Leadership and Development is embedded in the science, the theory, the practices of OD and effective leadership. So next week, Saturday, same time, we'll be having a virtual conference with Dr. Cornel Malan as the guest speaker and a number of panelists from different countries. Hence, I take this opportunity to welcome you as well to that conference. I will allow Dr. Chijioke to share his screen as we start today's proceedings. Over to you, Dr. Chijioke.
So can you please enable me?
Yes, done. Right, as he's sharing his screen, I will ask Dr. Fadey to introduce himself. Dr. Fadey, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I want to actually close one and see this. I want, okay. Not this, not this.
Yes, Dr. Fadey.
Just hold on. I want to share some, the one with, the one with, does this.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, Doc.
Yeah, this is Dr. Fade from Nigeria. Yeah, I think it's a privilege joining this conversation this afternoon. So thank you very much, Dr. Justin.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to upload the file. I want to use file for me to share from box now. Okay, let me just share this then. I wanted to share use the one for PDF on PDF file, but I can it's the same thing here. So
Okay.
let me use this. Okay, so I welcome everyone to this section. My name is Chijioke Nwachukwu. I'm a university teacher, a researcher, and a consultant. So today we'll be sharing insights on strategies of dealing with corporate insolvency post-COVID-19. You all agree with me that COVID-19 has caused serious disruption globally in terms of the way we live and the way how we live and the way we work. And also it has a great negative impact on businesses. The goal of this presentation is to discuss the nature of insolvency in business organizations, and also to understand the causes and the signs of insolvency in business organizations, and to also discuss strategies for managing corporate insolvency. So before we dive into the main issue, I want us to, look at the slide and see to talk about the effect of COVID on world's GDPs. This data the source is from World Bank. Now, what is GDP? GDP represents our gross domestic products, and it is a measure of growth, economic growth. It's an it's an indicator. It's a measure that it's an indicator of growth, economic growth, and economic health of countries. And the GDP is defined as the total monetary value of finished goods and services produced in a country within a specified period of time. So it's an important indicator for assessing the health of countries. And from the World Bank data, we can see that virtually all the countries in the world, due to the effect of COVID-19, have negative GDP, which implies that there is no growth globally, and the world GDP all the countries combined together is minus 7.7%, and this is as a result of the pandemic. And the US have a negative GDP of 7.9. The European zone, the EU zone, is having negative of 10.1. So, and then other countries, even Nigeria, is having negative of 5.3 in terms of the GDP. The impact of COVID-19 on the GDPs of countries. So that takes us to where we want to look at the impact of COVID on business sectors in Nigeria as a case. And from the data that is available for made available by Nigerian Bureau of Statistics and Afrinet, and built on the different sectors, we can see that virtually almost all the sectors are being impacted negatively, except for health and social service, ICT, chemical and pharmaceuticals. Then agriculture has a moderate impact on agriculture and food, beverage and tobacco. So this I am assuming that this trend will be similar with several other countries. It is obvious that the industry or sectors that are thriving in this era is one of the main sector is the ICT, and we can attest to this by the virtually everything we do now is done via the virtual method. We are using more of the ICT in this era, and then that takes us to the business of the day. What is insolvency? The company, the UK Insolvency Act of 1986, which is what most countries use, and is also, although countries also have some local laws that also try to govern insolvency in business organization, but the UK Act says that a firm is said to be insolvent when if the firm is unable to pay debts as well as a foredue. We all know that business organizations are like their open system. They receive input, they get revenue, and they also make payment. They pay for what they use in generating the revenue and all that. So when a firm is struggling, is having problems, is having issues with paying debts as a foredue, then we can say that the firm is having insolvency issue or problem. And two, if the firm's liabilities is more than its assets, as shown in its statement of financial position, which is also known as their balance sheet, then we can say that that firm or the business is experiencing insolvency. And assets, they are what the business owe. Now, what the business there are those resources, tangible or intangible resources that the business use in creating value, that the business that is owned and controlled by business, and they use it in creating value. Where the assets are more, for example, we have what we call the non-current assets and the current assets. And then the non-current assets are things like machineries, things like buildings, properties, equipments, they are permanent in nature. They are used over, they have a lifespan of over 1 year. So those kind of assets, they are called non-current assets, and also we can also term them as fixed assets. Why your liabilities are what you owe, what you are owing people, what the business is owing people. And for example, your liabilities can be your creditors, people you are owing, people your suppliers when they supply goods to you and on credit and you have not paid. So that can, as an example of your liabilities, and also your loans. When you obtain bank loan, when you obtain overdraft, those are liabilities to a firm. So when your liabilities are more than your assets, then we can say that the business is on the path of insolvency.
Then, before you go to the next slide, I will interrupt you to get input from others as well. I will pick Tsitsi. I saw Tsitsi is here. I will pick Tsitsi and Samuel. Go back to the previous slide, Doc, on the impact on businesses in relation to your industries. What has been the impact of COVID-19 in your own organization? Samuel and Tsitsi. I'll start with Samuel.
Okay. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In my own organization, we've been experiencing low patronage, so to speak. We have to run discounted training programs. As we speak, the consultancy industry or sector in Nigeria is just, let me say, coming up to at least provide succor to clients in terms of helping them to at least maximize their own profit. So for the consulting industry in Nigeria, we've been able to just come up with a sort of discounts for clients because we understand that the times are hard and we have to spend more to get what we need optimally. So it's just like that. We just offer a bit of discounts to people so that they can patronize us in the business. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the business has been affected negatively. Tsitsi.
I think that there's been a negative effect. Our industry, the higher education industry, we're not able to do the face-to-face teaching or learning that has been happening. So we're really struggling trying to do the online learning. And issues of data, issues of network and all that. So yeah, but I think on another note, it's now a bit positive because we have been forced to get on the e-learning, the online learning, and the students are kind of getting used to it. But of course, we did lose some students, potential students, those who are used to the face-to-face learning. They just begged off. But I think with time, since it's something that is happening everywhere, maybe we'll be able to regain our strength. But otherwise, there's been that negative impact. But I think everybody's kind of realizing that this is the new way to go. And I'm sure we'll be able to pick up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I saw a hand up before I go back to Dr. Chijioke. Mr. Chris. Mr. Chris, I understand you are in the pharmaceutical industry, if I'm not mistaken. Right, he's not ready at the moment. I'll go back to Dr. Chijioke, then we'll come back to the other conversation as well. Yes, Doc.
So, I'll be sharing some.
Yes, I think Mr. Chris.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there's some background noise that is coming up. Now I think it's okay.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No, not at the moment.
You can't hear me.
We can hear you, but there's
Can you hear
background
me?
noise. Yes, proceed, proceed.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, proceed.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Chris, proceed.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, all. It's Nigeria, calling from Lagos, Nigeria. Can you hear me?
Yes, 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 yes. Proceed, proceed.
Okay. Okay. I play in the pharmaceutical industry, the manufacturing sector specifically. And right now, I saw in Dr. Chijioke's presentation that the pharmaceuticals and chemicals, they're part of those who are not as much affected by the COVID-19 pandemic as other sectors. But I like to say that with respect to the Nigerian experience, because of the rate of the exchange rate of the naira against the dollar, as a result of importation of inputs and the stability of the rate, so it's kind of impacted on the pharmaceutical manufacturing subsector in Nigeria. As a result of that, prices of goods, the finished pharmaceutical products, they rise every day. And as a result of that, it's difficult to plan because of the pendulum in the rate of the naira, the Nigerian currency against the dollar. So it's a challenge in the industry. And as a result of that, companies that are involved in the importation of finished pharmaceutical products from outside, in fact, a lot of them are ill affected by this COVID-19, after effects. So it's really affecting the industry. So for the manufacturing aspect in the industry, the only companies that are surviving now are those who have purchased raw materials pre-COVID-19. And you can't tie down inventory for too long. Otherwise, you'll be tying down a lot of capital by way of inventory. And so those are the ones that are, in active manufacturing right now. And so for those who are wanting to purchase inputs, that is the raw material, the cost is quite high. And that will impact on the prices you are going to offer. And of course, that will have an impact on the demand profile. So it's quite really very tough right now. So that's just my little contribution I want to make at this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chris. I understand Mr. Chris is CEO of a pharmaceutical organization in Nigeria. And before Dr. Chijioke comments on that, I will ask Dr. Doughton, to what extent does the common man understand these negative impacts of COVID-19? To what extent does the common man understand the negative impact of COVID-19 on the economy? Dr. Doughton.
Thank you very much, Doctor. This is a very interesting conversation. Just today, I was submitting my own company's invoices to my clients. And I must tell you that all the clients I serve cut our consultancy services invoice by 50% as a consultant. And some of my invites are also on this platform. They can tell you that companies have cut salaries by 50%. In fact, I have a case where they cut salary by 75%. These are institutes, consulting firms that run plainly on trainees. And then back again to what Mr. Chris said, which is very, very pronounced and evident that pharmaceutical companies are seriously affected. In fact, most of the indigenous ones are affected. The only few ones that are able to survive it are in the likes of GSK, Nemeth, and Pfizer. But for others like Fishing Healthcare PLC, like his own, like Vital Biotics, like Emzor, and quite a number of them, most of them are finding it very difficult to actually cope because of the exchange rate. Now back to common man, according to the Lagos State Chambers of Commerce and Industry, we are told that by 2021, we are going to have more than 60 million jobs that will be lost in Nigeria. That's what they told us. And they told us that for every 10 Nigerians, 5 will be out of job by December, because many companies now have declared a whole lot of furlough and retrenchment. So as a result of the COVID, a whole lot of effects are so much pronounced on manufacturing industry. The only few industries that are thriving now are the telecoms. In fact, I have a client that increased salary by 100% because they are in the fintech and telecom industry. But take a look at real estate industry, it is zero. Take a look at other pharmaceutical, other manufacturing companies aside, okay, that of pharmaceutical, which are also at a good stand. If not for the exchange rate, they are at good stand because more drugs are needed to be able to produce, and some of these sanitizers also are still part of the pharmaceutical output, which you find most of the company also producing. So as a result of the effect globally and across board in Nigeria, I tell you that a whole lot of companies are actually finding it difficult, and that has led to a lot of retrenchment in quite a number of companies. But as I speak with you, more than 60% of manufacturing companies have reduced their workforce, while many are still considering further reduction. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Chijioke, you can comment on their contributions and then proceed.
I think Dr. Dotu have answered part of what I was supposed to say. Yeah, in terms of exchange rates, the issue with exchange rates did not start with the COVID in Nigeria. We are aware that exchange rate issue is different. It's another ball game. It's not linked to the COVID. The Nigerian economy and the exchange rate have been, the exchange rate have been getting worse compared to other international currencies. So COVID-19 should not be held accountable, responsible for that. And the way it is affecting exchange rate is a global thing in terms of it affects all industries the same way, especially the industries that rely on imported inputs, to make their product. So COVID-19 is not fully responsible for the woes of pharmaceutical companies, so to speak. But why this statistics is from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, and they have their reasons for doing that. Why is that? Because, like Dr. Dotu said, now pharmaceutical companies are supposed to thrive because now they need to manufacture drugs. People need drugs than ever before. So people need drugs now. So they are supposed to thrive, and maybe that is what. And maybe from the statistics, maybe they actually assess the companies that are thriving, and they found that most of the pharmaceutical companies are thriving. That is why they ranked it positive. For some that have been affected based on exchange rates, it's a different thing. It's not because of COVID. Thank you.
Can I make a comment here, please?
Yes, Mr. Chris.
Okay, I'd like to respond very briefly to our last speaker, Dr. Chijioke. It is in this climb, like in Nigeria, particularly, during this COVID, the rates, the price of the oil, the crude oil fell, because of the lowest demand. The demand for crude oil is very low. And Nigeria as an economy, they depend on about 90% of their forex earning is coming from the oil industry, the export of oil. And that, because of the influence of the COVID, the demand for crude oil dropped. The aviation industry didn't need it. The vehicles didn't need it. There was no need for diesel and all of that because of the lockdown. And as a result of that, it affected, the forex available for the government to spend. And as a result of the forces of demand and supply, they needed to devalue the naira because pre-COVID, the value it was very stable. So you could plan, even though it was being high. But this time, as a result of the drop in the federal government earnings from the oil industry, which forms about 90% of the federal government's earnings, the foreign exchange available dropped. And so that affected the rate of the dollar and of the naira, the Nigerian currency against the dollar. And so it started, just jumping up and up as a result of the less forex available for people to purchase locally, to import inputs for the industry, because there was less dollar available for the government to sell. And so because the demand was high, and the supply dropped. And so as a result of that, the CBN raised it. It was very stable at 360, for instance, for a number of years. Before they raised it to 380 as the official rate. And even at that, you have to queue up. If you open an LC, you have to queue up for 3 months for all this while. So people resorted to the black market, and the parallel market took advantage of that, and they decided to raise it up. So that's why I mentioned the issue of the forex, the rate of the naira fluctuating against the dollar during this period of COVID.
Thank you. I will allow Dr. Chijioke to proceed. Then we'll come back to that discussion at the end in respect to the exchange rates. Dr. Chijioke.
So, I'll be sharing insight about some of the signs you will see, or the causes, or when you see them, then as business owners, as business executive, you begin to question them. There are likely signs of that the business may run into troubled waters. So, and one of that cause or symptom is non-payment of tax liability. Every organization, they are expected to pay taxes from their profit. And when you see that a firm is not remitting the taxes, their taxes to the tax authority, then it's a sign that all is not well. Maybe they are trying to use the tax that they're supposed to remit to the government. They are trying to use it to fund their operations. And when that continues for a long time, or for a long period, it may accrue penalties from the tax authority, and those penalties may grow so big that it becomes unmanageable for the organization. That can cause insolvency, and that's a sign that the business is having issues. Then the second point, the second sign is continuing losses. When a business is operating, business is posting losses for more than 2 years, then it's also a sign, because if that continues, it may erode the capital, it may erode the capital, it may erode the company's capital, shareholders fund, or the capital, because if you keep on making loss, at the end of the day, it will eat into your capital, and then the company may have a negative capital shareholders fund, which means the company is almost is in trouble already. So continue when you keep on making losses, first, second year, third year, then it's a sign. It may cause insolvency. Then the third sign is no access to credit. every business, there's no economists say that resources are scarce. It's not possible for you to have all the financial resource to run. It may not be possible to have all the financial resource to run your business. So there may be need to fall back to credits. There may be need for firms to obtain loans. There may be need for firms to get overdraft to support their working capital. And when people or banks now have issues granting you credit, you are having problem obtaining credit, then it's also a sign that all is not well, because it will put pressure on your limited cash flow. Another point is cash on delivery. Organizations also get a kind of financing from their credit, from their suppliers. So there's sometimes the suppliers allow them to, provide services or allow them to take inventories or goods, and then and they are expected to pay back the money in a specified period, which the normal period is normally between 30 and 60 days. You are allowed to take obtain your suppliers grant you between 30 and 60 days to make payment. And when your suppliers are beginning to have doubts and they are not interested in giving you that time period, or they want you to take the goods and pay on cash as they are delivering, you are giving them cash, then it's also a sign of insolvency, because maybe the suppliers may have some vital information about the health of your business, and no supplier will want his money to be trapped. So that also may be a sign of insolvency. Then the next point is receiving demand notice, and this has to do with when the people you are owing, they are beginning to trouble you to pay back, and they also can obtain legal action can obtain legal demand notice from the court for you to pay back. Then it's a sign of insolvency, because that will also put pressure on you to try to find a way of dealing with the problem. Because if your customers are they are making demands on you, and you don't have that resources to put pressure on the other your business operations. Then another point is decreasing sales. Of course, we know that sales revenues come from sales. So if the business is experiencing low sales, of the sales volume is going down, then it's a problem. Like someone mentioned that they are experiencing, there's no job, they are experiencing low consulting job and all that, and that they had to offer discounts for their training program. So if your business, you are not getting revenue, then, and it is going down consistently, then it's a problem, it's a sign of insolvency. Another sign is when you have this unfunded pension fund. Organizations, not all, but the ones that the law that applies depend on context, maybe country. For some countries, they say if you have more than 5 or more employees, you are expected to register to deduct pension and then remit the pension to pension fund administrators. Every month, as you deduct those the pension from your employees, you are supposed to remit it. You are supposed to send it to the pension fund administrators. And if a business is deducting those funds and not actually remitting it, then it's also a sign of insolvency, because for every day you fail to remit this fund, there's a penalty that's attached to it. And the penalty is enormous, it's very huge. In the case of Nigeria, as a case. So if you're not doing that, and the tax and the regulatory bodies get to know, it may be a big, huge problem for the organization. So, and another point here is the excessive reliance on related parties. By related party, we mean people that are connected to you, maybe through family, friends, and all that. When a business begins to borrow money, begin to borrow money from families, from friends, without proper loan agreement, without proper documentation, then also it is a sign of insolvency, because it therefore means that maybe the organization is finding it hard to officially borrow money from financial institutions and then follow the due process. So when you begin to see up a business that is borrowing money from family all the time, it goes to the families or friends to borrow money, to collect money, to fund this operation, then it also can be a sign of insolvency. Then low stock turnover. By stock turnover, we mean how the rate at which you sell your stocks, your inventories. And if the business is finding it hard to sell its products, the products or the goods or the inventories may become obsolete, and it may also lose its value. So if you see a company that is having slow or low stock turnover, then it's also a sign of insolvency. Then the last point is high account receivables. By account receivables, we mean what your debtors are owing you, the money that your debtors are owing you when you transact business. For companies, all the business are not done. All the business are not done in. They are not done on cash basis. So some of the business are conducted based on credit. And when you offer service and you make sales on credit, then the debtors are supposed to pay. They are supposed to pay, but that is feasible. And when the business is experiencing high value of account receivables, we have a lot of money tied outside. We have made business, we have transacted businesses, and we have supplied, but this money or these funds are not coming back. This high rate of the debt, it will put pressure on your cash flow, because the insolvency issue, but that's more on cash flow problem. So when you are having cash flow issues, then it's likely it have a high chance of business have a high chance of becoming insolvent. So,
right, I'll take just one person. We are getting some background from you, Doc. Just one person to share an experience with insolvency as we proceed. I will pick at the moment, Dr. Fadey, any experience with insolvency that you would want to share regarding these particular symptoms?
Sorry. Okay. Yo, can you hear me?
Yes, Doc.
Okay, I think I will just speak with respect to my organization. I lecture in a university, and coincidentally, it happened to be a new university, and I'm among the pioneer staff. And with respect to insolvency, well, will I really say it's insolvency or the effect of COVID-19? Find out for close to 3 months, next week, will be the end of the month. My organization have not been able to pay salary. That for about 3 months, simply just because many of the students, they pay part of their fee for semester. They were meant to resume second semester and they will pay off. So the university complained that hundreds of millions is being held by the students. So, and that affected their ability to pay. And not only that, because that affected their ability to pay, obviously the staff morale is being affected. And if a university that is funded by a church, and the church, nationwide, the churches have closed down, the issue of revenue coming in is not there, and that affected the ability of the church to fund the university, by extension, the inability of the university to pay. So, and as this continued, the first month, the second month, the third month, in fact, there is a service organization that services the university in form of security outfits. Now, this security outfit, the university have not also been able to pay them, and because they could not pay them, I met one of their leaders, one of the top man there. Say, oh, for close to 3 months, the university have not been able to pay for this, for that, for this, for that. And this one, don't forget, salary could not be paid. People servicing the organization, the organization could not pay them. So I want to believe that these are some of the symptoms. But the question I begin to ask myself is that, is it at the point of takeoff of the university that all these have not been considered before the university started, or just purely because of COVID? So I don't know, maybe Dr. Chijioke will be able to help here, because one, the university is barely just 3 years now, and all these are some of the things I see. But to me, I also see it as a sign or a symptoms of insolvency. So that's my take.
Thank you so much. I think Dr. will answer that question at the end of the presentation. We'll just take note of that question. For now, Doc, you can proceed.
Okay. So we'll be looking at strategies for managing insolvency. One, you have to contact your creditors and to make informal arrangement on how you need to pay what you are owing. You actually, the business, you don't just, the business owners should just, you don't just sit down and say, okay, we're not doing well, we cannot pay and keep quiet. You need to discuss with your creditors. You need to contact them, you need to reach agreement on, and if possible, you may request for them to give you more time, or for them to, work out something that will be more easy for you to commitment, that will be more easy for you to achieve, and then find a way of paying them. Then 2, monitor cash flow. Cash is king. In every business, cash is important, because the cash is what makes you to be able to meet your short-term obligations, your current obligations, your short-term, what I mean short-term, because I mean short-term obligations that falls due within 1 year, short-term. So your cash is part of your working capital. So it's important, you have to monitor your cash flow, how the cash is coming in, and how you are using you are utilizing it. So cash flow is key. Then you need to ask for time to pay. And then this one is connected with the first point where you discuss and get a formal agreement with your creditor. So you also need to ask for time to pay. Then very important, you need to expedite collection of receivables, because your receivable, the working capital in finance and accounting, your working capital is in these forms: your cash, your bank, your cash, your inventory, and your debtor. So your inventory, your debtor, your debtors are potential cash for you, because already you have, you have rendered the service, you have, you made sales, so they are potential cash. So if you adopt, if you optimize receivable collection, you pursue your debtors. It's not time to sit down and be shy. No, you need to make recovery. You need to go out and reach out to people that are owing you. And if possible, you can offer discounts. You can offer discounts so that you can get this money coming, because your debtors are potential cash, and cash is key for you to survive, for you to be able to keep afloat. Then another point, another strategy you can adopt is the business owners can inject more funds into the business. You can bring in more money, more capital, into the business, so that that can help you to keep afloat. Then another strategy you can adopt is you can consider alternative financing options like invoice finance or discounting. By invoice financing, or the invoice financing basically has to do with factoring and invoice discounting. And the difference between factoring and invoice discounting is who receives the money. Factoring, you sell the debts to a factor company, but invoice discounting, you collect the money. What you need to do is, maybe you have done, like Dr. mentioned, that he always has an invoice which is submitted, and the company is yet to pay. You take the invoice and take it to your bank, and the bank will discount it. The bank will give you maybe between 70 to 80% of the invoice value, and you domicile the payment of that invoice to the bank. With that, you will not need to wait for maybe 40 or 45 days or 60 days when the money your client is supposed to call your client is supposed to pay. But you will have the cash almost immediately, and that cash can help you in running your business, pending when the invoice matures for payment. So this is an alternate source of financing, and it is a very good one, because you don't need to owe anybody, or you don't need to pay any bank interest or loan, but you can pay some little fees. The bank may charge you little fee, a small amount to discount the invoice for you. So it's also a way out, alternative financing. Then another thing you need to do is manage costs. This is obvious that cost is very important. Cost is one of the things that eats into the bottom line. The profit of the organization is impacted by cost. So if you are able to manage your costs, then you can save some extra money for the organization. And when we say manage costs, we mean cut waste, not cost. There are some activities that are not value adding in your value chain, in how you create value. Those activities, you need to eliminate them. For example, if you don't need the expenses or that you need that are avoidable, that you don't need to do now, you can defer them. You can push them forward if they are not something that you need to do now. For example, maybe as the MD of the company, you always you are supposed to take they pay you maybe 200,000 every month for example, for newspaper allowance. For example, I'm giving an instance. You take like 200,000 for newspaper allowance. In this period, you don't need those costs are avoidable. They are not things that you need to take. You need to make sure that they are for me, I call them waste for now. So you need to eliminate those wastes and not costs, but the costs that are relevant, that will add value to the business, that will enable you, the business, to create value and generate revenue and income. Those are the things you need to focus on. Every cost that are avoidable, you must eliminate them. then you need to restructure the business. And restructuring may take different forms. It may mean you need to downsize or right size, as some people may call it, or you need to change, you need to move from a bigger premises or office complex to a smaller office, or there are some things that you need to change about your processes, how you organize your business. So you need to do a proper restructuring. Then the next one is you need to enter into a company voluntary arrangement. CVA is a formal way agreement where the insolvent company comes together with the creditors too for the payment of debts in full. They agree, they make an arrangement. The creditors and the company that is insolvent will come together and they decide on how they will pay the debt, and either they will pay in full or in part or for a particular period. And also, I'm also aware that even some organizations also try to discount, maybe for example, for banks that have people that are owing them. They try to discount the interest. They try to remove the interest element or remove part of the interest element and ask the debtor to pay the principal or some fractions of the interest. So this is also a way of trying to have an arrangement with people that you are owing. So it's important that the company also enter into a voluntary arrangement with the creditors. Then, when all has failed, then an administrative order can be obtained. And by administrative order, that enables the company that is insolvent to hand over the management of the business or the control of the business to an administrator to take charge of the business. That is another strategy. That's a strategy, but this is, I'll call it the last resort. This is the last thing to do. But for you to manage, insolvency, you need to do all other things. And when all other strategies are failed, then we can talk about maybe the management is not capable of, keeping the business afloat. Let's look for experts that can run the business, and let's see what will come out of it.
Yes, Doc, I will hold you just to take 3 people in 30 seconds each. Tsitsi, Kurai, and Maduka. Strategies that you are applying probably in your organizations to deal with any symptoms or signs of insolvency. I understand Jane is in the retail sector, Kurai is in the legal profession, and I'm not sure of Maduka. I will start with Jane. Strategies for managing insolvency. You have 30 seconds.
Hi, everybody. For us, just like Dr. Chijioke was talking about, it's about managing costs. We've cut down so many things, including some of the things that we used to do, like the shopping we used to do for the in-store management. You have had to go down on it in order to keep afloat with everything. That's all for me for now. Thank you.
Cutting costs. Thank you so much. Kurai, from the legal point of view.
Thank you so much. I think the rules have changed in terms of how we are now doing things. And, the legal profession, one of the challenges is implementing ICT, because we are not a strong point. It's not a strong point for us, but I think we'll be forced to do that. The managing of costs and cutting waste as well has been something that has had to be implemented. So it's not an easy space for the legal fraternity, but it's something that is being done, cutting down of hours of work as well, and just trying to ensure that, because I think one of the other challenges is to ensure that you are keeping safe at the same time. So striking that balance, because it adds on costs, trying to ensure the places are sanitized, the testing of employees. So there's a give and take that comes with it.
Thank you so much. Maduka is not here. I'll pick up John Akpan. John Akpan, any strategies that you would want to share? Right, Chinos, I see your hand up.
Okay, thank you. Mine it's not a contribution, it's a question on the last point that Dr. Chijioke raised on obtaining an administrative order. My question is, when a business is declared insolvent and handed over to an administrator, do you still hold the ownership of the business? And do you keep on benefiting from the business?
Yes, Doc.
When the ownership of the business is what the administrative order is for you to effectively hand over control, so that the administrator will try and see if they can revive the business, and if what the administrator is going to do is to try to see if they can revive the business and pay off your creditors. You understand? So if the business if they are able to revive the business, fine. If they are not able to revive the business, then they will file what we call liquidation. They have to file for liquidation, and they have to shut down the business. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Thank you. Okay. Maduka, I had called you for your name. Any strategies that you are using in your organization to deal with corporate insolvency? Or Maduka? Okay, Doc, you can proceed.
So, now because of the in light of COVID-19, organizations or businesses, it will not be fair to leave all that to just the businesses, organizations to handle. So some of the countries' governments have stepped in to provide some support for businesses, and I will share insights on some of this, what some of the governments or countries are doing. For example, Germany, the government made available 1 billion euros credit for businesses and companies of all sizes to support them. So they are giving them loans to be able to to support, to help them weather the storm. And also they are also providing some tax relief, some tax incentives. They are they are deferring taxes, because taxes, they are also for big organizations, taxes constitute a major expense, and it has a major impact, significant impact on profit. So these governments are doing what they are using taxes, and they are also trying to provide credit. Also in Spain, they are also doing the same thing, providing help to companies, and in the tone of about 200 billion euros. In Portugal, they are the same. It's the same trend in the EU. In Portugal, Portugal have made available 3 billion euros to help companies in sectors like tourism, hospitality, textiles, food, micro and small enterprises, and 5 billion euros to enable flexible tax and social security payment. France provided 45 billion euros aid package for small businesses. And United Kingdom also is also doing similar thing by making available $400 billion for businesses in retail and in supply chain industries. The United States provided $50 billion for airline industries and $250 billion for small businesses. Canada is giving support of 82 billion Canadian dollars to support businesses and temporary tax relief. So in Africa, some other African countries are trying to emulate to the same line. Ghana, a scheme that is named Coronavirus Elevation Program for support small business, to support business schemes for SMEs, SMMEs, valued about $104 million US. Nigeria is looking at 136.6 million to support businesses, and South Africa has about 3 billion rands to support businesses. But for Africa, all these proposals, the implementing them is what is another issue. I don't know, because I may say that I can say that the level of implementation in Africa, I'm not too sure about that. But some of the countries have made some proposals to support businesses because of the impact of COVID on mostly SMEs. So I say, permit me to also to introduce this university to us. I work here, and the university is based in Paris, France, and it's mainly, the studies are conducted mainly online, and I think in light of what is happening now, the online education has come to stay. So, and we have the university offers different courses in business, but these are some of the few courses that are offered there. So, in case you have someone that is interested in doing a PhD in entrepreneurship or international leadership or some other courses are listed, you can contact the Census Business Solution. And Census Business Solution is a consulting firm that is registered in Nigeria, and the company offers services. They offer consultancy service, market research, accounting service, and more. They focus more on the main expertise of the consultants in the firm is on implementing accounting systems, internal control and accounting systems for SMEs and firms. So if you run a small and medium enterprise or firm, and you need to establish an accounting system, you need to establish an effective internal control system, and then you can reach out to us. So on this note, I say thank you for listening.
Right, Doc. Thank you so much for the presentation. We have 10 minutes to get into a brief conversation. And the first thing that I want the members here to share what their governments are doing in order to address corporate insolvency. And we serve a field that believes in the positive. And we look at the positive things and we try to work from a position of positive to address all the other issues. So what are the governments doing in your country, the positive things that are being done in your country in order to address corporate insolvency? I will start with Dr. Dotan from Nigeria, Mr. Victor Zimba from Zimbabwe, And Jane, I hope you have an idea of what is happening in Kenya and the other countries represented. I'll start with Dr. Doughton. Positive things that the Nigerian government is doing to address issues of corporate insolvency.
Okay, thank you, sir. Very quickly, but before then, let's not forget the question that Dr. Olatunji raised, because that question is very important.
Yes,
I'm also interested in hearing the response, because I have some input also.
Mhm.
Okay, well, so far I must commend the federal government in terms of allowing agriculture to rise, because this is a time when agriculture can be given the best attention. It represents 65% contribution to our GDP, and represents 75% of employment for the SMEs. So allowing it to thrive during this time with full support, and there's ban on importation of agricultural related products. That is a commendable one. There's financial support and the relief that the federal government is also trying to implement, even though there have been a lot of challenges in actual implementation, just as Dr. Chijioke rightly said, is also a commendable one. And also the effort government made by reducing the pump price of fuel or PMs is also a good one, which is also in the right direction. And of recent, because I'm on a facility with a bank, and I received a text few days ago that, okay, from Access Bank, that now my loan repayment plan now has about 180 days grace, so which is already for due. That is also a good gesture from the federal government. So extending loans repayment plan for SMEs and for corporate organizations is a good gesture. I also thank the government for allowing manufacturing, in particular, of some of these disinfectants and nose masks. Initially, they were coming from China, but allowing them to be manufactured locally is also giving a good rise to locally produced activities, and also strengthening made in Nigerian products. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone from Nigeria before I go to Mr. Victor, and then Dr. Preeti from India?
Yeah, I think I want to make a response. This is Dr.
Yes,
Fadi.
you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I think with respect to the palliative, I want to say that, my wife owned a small business, and she was fortunate. Just within this lockdown, she applied for the COVID-19 palliative from the government, and she was credited 2 million naira to sustain her business. And I think that one is a good one from the government. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we need to see. It's a doctor. We need to see so that I can get it.
Yeah. So the field of OD works with the positive. If you go on social media, people post all sorts of negative things about what governments are doing. And it's something that happens more often in Africa, where we don't see anything positive that our governments are putting in place. So we need to work with the positive in order to deal with the issues at hand. Mr. Victor, in Zimbabwe.
Thank you, Doc. And thank you, Dr. Chijioke, for the informative presentation. I actually realized that all the strategies that you were talking about also apply to individuals, even at household level. So in Zimbabwe, coming back to the question, in Zimbabwe, I think recently the government supported or availed a youth fund, which was aimed at supporting the youth in the informal sector. So youth in the informal sector would apply for the funds so that they are cushioned against the effects of COVID-19. The funds, of course, they had very strict regulations in terms of what you should have as a business for you to be able to access the grants that are being given by the government, which I think is also a positive thing, given that in Zimbabwe, most businesses have been informal and they've been operating without being registered. So this move that they have come up with also encourages formalization of businesses in the country. So that's one of the things that the government has done in relation to supporting businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other contribution? I see Kurai and Tsitsi. What is happening in Zimbabwe? Positive from the government.
Just to add that the stimulus package that the government had said for businesses was 18 billion. I think for me, what was important and what was critical is that the local authorities, the city councils, were able to forward names of small businesses that were registered with them to access this stimulus package. So I think that is a nice system, because it means if you're doing your business properly, you can have access to these stimulus packages. So to me, that was very important, because I think a lot of times in some businesses, people don't bother to register. So I think some of them saw the importance of actually doing this and having that relationship with the local authorities.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Priti, in India, what the government of India is doing, I understand you joined a bit late, what the government of India is doing to support organizations in India. Right, we can get her there. Mr. Chino's in South Africa. Before we go to the question and we have to close. And Jane from Kenya. Chino's?
Hey, Shay, on that one, I'm not very familiar. Yeah, but actually, like what Dr. Chijioke has already mentioned, that around 3 billion has already been offered to support small businesses so that they can, but I don't have much information on that. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Jane, any idea what is happening in Kenya? I understand you are not in Kenya.
Well, to be honest, as far as the information I have, in Kenya, they're trying to support key areas such as the banks to facilitate loans for businesses. Other than that, I cannot give anything apart from that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Back to Dr. Fadei's question regarding the universities and the challenges that they are facing now. And if I picked that correctly, it was the issue of planning, whether the university failed to plan, or I asked Dr. Fadei to rephrase the question again.
Okay, yeah. I said, I mentioned that next week we make 3 months when the university had these payment challenges. Now, the fact that they've not been able to pay the staff, some other firm like servicing companies, security outfit that service the university, they also have similar challenges paying them. Though one of the complaints the university had was that the COVID-19 played a major role in that, because some of the students who happen to be some of the source of income have not paid, and because they didn't resume back to school, so some of them have not paid, and because they've not paid, so it's also affecting the revenue base of the university. But the other part is that the university is being financed by a church, is a faith-based university, but the globally or in nationwide in Nigeria, the churches are locked down, so the churches are also affected in terms of revenue. They don't have fund to run the investment. In some of these, I'm now wondering, is it a sign of insolvency? Is it a sign of, or is it just, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
We can hear
Or
you.
is it just primarily on the COVID-19 issue? So that's what I was trying to ask Dr. Chijioke.
Okay, there's the question, Dr. Chijioke. You can answer that, and I think we have one hand up, then we can wrap up. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start to say that by saying that, yes, if it's a sign of insolvency, if since the company have not been able, the school have not been able to meet up with their, are not able to pay their debts as or their obligations as they fall due for 3 months now, it's a sign of insolvency. Having said that, I think that universities, operating a university is not what you just wake up one day and try to put in place. And it's very important that proper planning is done. If I'm to advise a client that want to set up a university, I will tell them, as part of my advice would be, you need to set aside one year salaries. You need to make projection of at least 1 year salaries of your workers and put it in a fund that will be generating interest. I don't know if you understand. That money will not be touched. It will be there. It will be like a take-up grant that will be warehoused in an interest accruing account for days like this, because we all know that the environment we are operating in is very dynamic, it's ever changing. Anything can come up and disrupt your plan. So for you to try as part of measure to mitigate such is keeping what we call reserve fund somewhere. So it's an insolvency issue, but which, depending on how they manage it, the business, the university, and I know about the university, and I know about the church that owns the university. I think they should be able to weather the storm. It's what they can overcome.
Thank you, Doc. We will continue the discussion through the social platform. I see 2 hands up, and Dr. Doughton wants to add something. I will ask you, Dr. Doughton, to add and then close the session after Samuel and Mr. Chris. Samuel Osho.
Okay, from my own perspective, I believe the government in its own rights has been able to a large extent, do some intervention funds in terms of helping people that are less privileged, the vulnerable, and all that. Then the issue of trying to also update the database of the vulnerable people in the society, that has also been a very good step in the right direction, as well as trying to also integrate system, because some critics have criticized the government that we don't have a comprehensive database of those that are vulnerable, and this has spurred the government to implement a national identity management commission to see to making sure that everyone in Nigeria is captured. At least we should have a unified database from all various agencies, and these are started just last 2 weeks. So it's something that has been ongoing, and I believe it's going to bring up a good result. Then to the issue of giving loans and incentives, the National Microfinance Bank, I discovered that they gave loans, that's the Nigerian incentive-based risk-sharing system for agricultural lending. So they've been able to bring up something under the Central Bank of Nigeria to give loans to farmers, people in the agri sector. Although now it's now on hold because they had a lot of applications. So that's one of the loans that have been given in. So many strategies on trying to look inward. For instance, the National Economic Summit Group, the NESG, chaired by the Vice President, have been able to bring up suggestions for the federal government to actually look inwards into diversification of the economy, to also channel resources into agriculture, as it were. And I believe that will also show, it will also yield good results in the coming years. So those are my submissions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dr. Preeti, I saw your message. If you are ready, just turn on your mic. Then Mr. Chris, we have a maximum of 5 minutes before we close. Mr. Chris. Yes, we can't get him. Dr. Preeti? All right, Dr. Doughton, you can wrap up the conversation and make invitations. I see a lot of new names from Nigeria. I think you can also make invitations to the Nigerian group before Dr. Chijioke makes the closing remarks. Your mic is off.
I want to thank Dr. Chijioke for this exposure. I know that if we had more time, it would have taken us through. In fact, because on the subject of discussion, I have interest. I have interest because I'm a member of that church that owns the school. That's one. And two, I wonder if they cannot pay salary for 3 months. 3 months. That is too bad. Even if it has to involve the church or the school borrowing money to pay, because
Exactly.
they must understand the economical impact on individuals, on the members, and on the corporate image of the church as a whole. So we will take it back again to the platform because quite a number of things are at stake. But beyond that, I relate to quite a number of organizations, and I want to talk about 2 things: sustainable revenues and renewable revenues. What do I mean by sustainable? For example, I was in the oil-rich area a few weeks ago to resolve issues, and I discovered that even Chevron and some of these oil companies from Singapore, they had to slash salaries because of the impact of the COVID. So what I'm trying to say is that I have seen even banks saying we cannot pay salary, and I ask, your bank has been in operation for 20 years. So because Dr. made mention of something very critical, he said you set up a 1-year salary in advance. So why has companies like banks that have been in existence for 20 years cannot sustain such practice? Why would a company like Cadbury some few years ago declaring profit while they were making losses in order to give a false impression about their financial stability to the public? Why would insurance companies that have been in existence for 25 years claim that because of a 3-month COVID impact, they cannot pay salary? So these are issues that I will actually want Dr. Chijioke to actually talk about. And how do we reinvent corporate practices in terms of their financials and some other areas of concern like that? Meanwhile, I want to thank my fellow Nigerians. I want to thank Mr. John Akpan. I want to thank Mr. Stephen. I want to thank Mr. Chris, who has always been there. I want to thank Dr. Olatunji. I want to thank Ogo. Ogo, I don't know where you are, but Ogo would have wanted to give a good contribution because she's somebody who actually wants to say something about the company, but I don't know what has happened. But I want to thank every single person for what they have done by making this presentation a good one. We've learned a whole lot, and I want to thank every other person from India, from South Africa, from Zimbabwe, and from my country, Nigeria. I want to thank Dr. Justin, who has always been giving us a good platform to have this kind of forum, because if we had gone to pay for this in LBS, I'm sure we'll be paying about $3,000. So this is an opportunity for us to learn, in particular, learning beyond our immediate profession, bringing finance, bringing quality control, bringing other diverse fields into context is something that I must thank. I want to thank Samuel too, whose contribution is very, very valuable. Thank you very much for this update, and we appreciate it. And we look forward to having more insight. As I said, Doctor, we still need to learn more on this financial, because that is the cross of business today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Fundamental questions that you asked there, Dr. Doughton. Companies have been in existence for the past 20 years. COVID comes, 3 months, they can't pay salaries. We need to reinvent corporate practices. We need to revisit our approaches to corporate management, corporate leadership, and corporate governance. And those are some of the key issues that we need to question in organizations if we are to build sustainable organizations and societies. Closing remarks, Dr. Chijioke.
Okay. Dr. Dodson has said it all. I just need to add 1 or 2 things. And I want to thank everyone for, creating time to be on this platform. And the takeaway is, my advice is, organizations in the time of abundance, in the time of plenty, organizations, management should ensure that they have reserve that will be general idle cash. When you have idle cash, you need to put them somewhere. You need to put them somewhere that will maybe generating interest. you don't squander, you don't squander what you have because you feel that everything is fine and you have more than enough. Times like this will always come. So and times like this determines the type of leadership, determines the type of organizations and the type of managerial competencies organizations have. So sustainability is the word, and sustainability. We keep on saying sustainability, sustainable. You need to build sustainable business. You need to be sustainable, and all this building sustainable business is linked to good corporate governance, which is the hallmark of organizational survival. So the key thing is we need to save in the time of plenty. It applies to corporate bodies, it applies to government, it applies to individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have Mr. Chris Ojiabulu is the CEO and Managing Director of Faith Oak Pharmaceutical. And as CEO, we need you at one point to speak to us regarding some of these issues that are being raised. I understand you have been doing this for quite some time. So we need to hear from people who are at that level. Speak to us about what are the issues, corporate management, corporate leadership, corporate governance issues that we face. I take this opportunity to appreciate everyone who joined this conversation today. And thank you so much for taking your time out. I hope you managed to learn something. Our mission is to ignite insightful conversations. So the conversation should not end just by closing this session, but we need to have more conversations going. We also invite you to our conference next week. Our conference is on embracing organization development theory, practices, and science in order to lead organizational effectiveness. So do talk to some of the members who are registered already on the OLDN platform. They will share the registration link, and we will be glad to have you again same time next week for our virtual conference, the Organization, Leadership, and Development Network. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Stay blessed.